Welcome back to another fractions lesson with me, Mr. Duclos of Citizenship Academy. Today, our objective is to use visual models to add and subtract two fractions with the same units, including from one whole. Let's jump in and see what we can do. So the first problem we're going to do is 1 minus 5/8. And we're going to solve it two ways using a number line. What makes this question a little bit trickier is that the 1 is not a fraction. It's a whole number, 1. And what we have to really make sure we do is understand what that 1 means. 1 is the same thing for this problem as saying 8/8. Remember, we're saying we have one whole, and a whole would be 8 parts filled in over 8. So now that we know that, we can convert this and we can say that we have 8/8 minus 5/8. And already we've made this problem a lot easier just by converting it into like units. But the problem asks us to solve using a number line and two ways. So I'm going to draw my number line. And the first way that I'm going to solve is my favorite way, and that's called counting up. So we're going to start at our lesser, at 5/8. And we're going to count up until we get to 1, or 8/8. So 6/8, 7/8, 8/8. So I can see that it took 1, 2, 3 jumps on my number line to get from 5/8 to 8/8. And again, 8/8 is the same thing as one whole, because we have the same number of parts as the whole. So that's one way to solve it. We come out with our answer as being 3/8. Because remember, we're not dealing with just whole numbers. We're dealing with fractions. Next, we're going to do it by counting down. Whichever way works better for you is a way that I would recommend you do it. I like to count up, but I'm sure there are people who like to count down. So we're going to do that as well. So this was counting up. Counting up. Now we're going to count down. I'm still going to draw my number line. And I'm still going to label it. Except this time, I'm going to label it at the higher number. We have 1, which is equal to 8/8. And this time it says I'm subtracting, or I need to go by 5/8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I can count. I have 8/8, so I'll have 7/8, 6/8, 5/8, 4/8, 3/8. No matter which way I did the problem, whether I counted down or I counted up, I got 3/8 as my answer. Now, let's look at another problem. The next problem we're going to do asks us to use a number bond and a number lines to solve by counting up and down. I underlined number lines and number bond because this question is asking me to do two different things, and I don't want to forget. So I underline what was important so that I know what I'm doing. First thing I'm going to do is use a number bond. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1 3/6. I'm going to break that down into 6, 6, and 3, 6. And I can do that because I know that 1 is always going to be the same as the numerator and the denominator being the same. 1 is the same thing as when your parts and your whole equal each other. So now I'm going to use what I have there and a number line to count up and then count down. So the first one it asks is for me to count up. So I draw my number line and I'll label it 5, 6. But how am I going to count up? I don't know how to count up to 1 3/6. Well, this is again where I can use my number bond. If I see that I have 6 over 6 and 3 over 6, I know that that equals 9 over 6. So we're doing a lot of converting here, but all we've done is drawn 1 3/6 in different ways. We have 1 3/6. We have it broken down into a number bond, and we have it all together compounded. So now I know that I need to get to 9 over 6. And at this point I can just count. We have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is going to be 9 over 6. 6 over 6, 7 over 6, 8 over 6. So what I did was I used my number bond to make my equation be in like units, to change my equation from 1 3/6 minus 5, 6 to 9, 6 minus 5, 6. Then I use that easier equation with like units to make a number line and count up. But the problem also asks us to count down. So we're going to do that as well. In order to do that, we will start, we'll make our number line, and we'll start at 9 over 6. And how many am I subtracting from 9 over 6? Well, I am subtracting 5, 6. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to count. We have 9, 6, 8 over 6, 7 over 6, 6 over 6, 5 over 6, give myself a little more room, and 4 over 6. And that actually matches up, because right here, in order to get from 5, 6 to 9, 6, we had to add 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4. But not 1, 2, 3, 4 wholes, 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So we had to add, really, 1 over 6, 1 over 6, 1 over 6, 1 over 6, which equals 4 sixths. And then down here, we can see that our answer is just 4 sixths. So now we know from our number bonds and from both of our number lines that this 1 3/6 minus 5, 6 is 4 sixths. I'm going to clean this up a little bit just so we can really see what we're looking at. But all we did was take 1 3/6, use a number bond to convert that to 9/6, and then use number lines to find our answer. But at the end of the whole thing, what we know is that 1 3/6 minus 5/6 equals 4/6. Now we're going to do a problem from your independent work, and then afterwards, you're going to go finish the rest of the assignment on your own. Now we're moving on to your independent work. If you're doing Google Forms, this will be the first question on your Google form. If you're using Seesaw, that's okay. Do this problem with us, and then afterwards, go finish your Seesaw assignment. So this problem says, solve each subtraction problem using a number line and by counting up and subtracting. So I'm going to underline number line, counting up, and subtracting. Because now I really know that I need to make a number line, I need to solve it by counting up, and I need to solve it by subtracting. There's no way that I don't know what to do now. Also, even though the question doesn't ask me to do this, to make it easier for me, I'm going to convert 1 into 4/4. Because remember, 1 is representing a whole, and a whole are when you have equal parts to the whole. So if we're dealing with fourths, then 1 is going to equal 4/4. So what I've done, just going back, is I've taken my 1 3/4, and I've made it a problem that's easier for me to understand. I've made it 4/4 minus 3/4, because now I'm dealing with like units, and like units will make the problems easier. So now I look back at my problem, and I have to count up. So I'm going to draw my number line. I'm going to start at 3/4, and I'm going to count up until I get to 4/4. Well, 1/4 to get to 4/4. That lets me know that the answer to this is 1/4. But this problem also asks me to check my work or do it 2 ways. So the first way was counting up, and the second way was subtracting. So I'm going to draw my second number line over here. And when you're subtracting, you start with the higher total. So we have 4/4, and I'm subtracting 3/4. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. 4/4, 3/4, 2/4, 1/4. It matches up. Since I did it both ways, both counting up and subtracting, I can be really confident that my answer of 1 minus 3/4, that it's 1/4. Doing a question multiple ways is a great way to make sure you got the correct answer. Because just because you do a problem a different way doesn't mean the answer should change. In math, the answer is going to change, or it's going to stay the same, even if you do it a little bit differently. All right, now we're going to move on to your independent work. If you're using Google Forms, we've already done the first one together. Please finish on your own. If you are doing a Seesaw assignment, go and finish the Seesaw assignment and then your teacher can check it out. All right, that's it. Have a great day, and goodbye.